I have divided the presentations into 5 lectures. The first lecture, Void and Birth from Darkness, starts in the Great Void, lying in the constellation of Bootes in the North Galactic sky. It spans an area with an angular diameter of more than 25 degrees. Instead of tens of thousands of galaxies, which should populate such space, there are only 60 dwarf galaxies observed so far. It appears to be the cradle of galaxy formation, where dwarf structures appear. It is a laboratory to watch how filamentary gases interact and shoot out jets from the dark, which then create the seed of galaxy formation. The seed takes the form of wheel, which remains confined inside several layers of cocoons of gases enveloping it. This tiny wheel at the center weaves the gaseous filaments surrounding it by following a particular mode of ejections from and accretion toward the center. Thus, the center revolves and becomes bigger, while creating a similar larger wheel around it. Thus, the wheel inside wheel takes over the process of creation. In this process of growth, the dwarf structures create many smaller structures, which populate the void like fireflies flying around small lamps. In the outskirts of this region, dark galaxies and clusters of puffy dark balls of the sizes of galaxies are observed. They show branched filamentary growth, where branches entangle with each other in a complex manner. There exists a dark triple spiral structure, whose arms occupy the entire void, and spreads its tentacles outwards in the greater cosmos. With the formation of dwarf galaxies in the void, and following their growth, the structures move southward away from the void. Then, galaxies gather around the void in small clusters. Many smaller and looser clusters can be seen right outside the boundary of the Bootes void. The second lecture, called Journey to Illumination, From Cradle to Grave, tells the story of galaxy clustering together with evolution from young to old age. As the galaxies move away from the void center, they become larger, and at the same time form denser clustering. The loose clusters of not so fully developed galaxies become denser clusters of young evolved galaxies. One example is the Coma cluster of galaxies, which lies several hundreds of millions of light-years away from the void. In this part, we trace the evolution of larger and larger clusters, as well as the process of development of galaxies which possess active galactic nuclei. This process of growth of galaxies create many more small galaxies as ejections occurring from the mother structure. These smaller galaxies form the major galactic content of the clusters around the central bodies. The interactions of the luminous galaxies with themselves, and the dark galaxies which are present around them, create a youthful playground of the galaxies in the universe. More the structures move southward towards the south galactic sky, the galaxies become more powerful and develop more energetic active galactic nuclei, from where smaller galaxies and jets of high-energy particles are held out in space. When one reaches the sky near Centaur and Hydra constellation, the galaxies receive their greatest splendor, and they form densest clusters of involving active galaxies in this region. These clusters, by then, form associations with each other, and build even bigger cosmic structure called supercluster of clusters. The most well-known supercluster in this region is Shapley supercluster. Here we observe the most marvelous illumination of the universe. The journey of the illumined universe proceeds further south, towards a realm known as the Great Attractor. The galaxies appear to be moving towards something immensely great, like rivers flowing towards a great ocean. As one passes the realm of shapely supercluster, the galaxies become older and redder. The old galaxies continue the formation of denser clusters and bigger association than even the shapely supercluster. In Horologium constellation they form an enormous structure resembling a huge wheel. The galaxy clusters array along the outer rim of this wheel. It also contains a smaller inner rim, where huge red star-looking objects shine. The spaces between the rims and the center turns more and more dark. It is death ring of the galaxies. The interactions of galaxies in the clusters break them apart into smaller structures, which again break apart into even smaller structures. Thus the decay of the once luminous world occurs following a cascade of disintegration. Finally, these disintegrated parts are drawn inside a whirlpool of darkness, which builds at the center. The center of the Horologium supercluster becomes the center of a graveyard of galaxies, which extends far outside Horologium. One sees again a three-armed spiral structure in the south galactic sky, where old galaxies find their rests. The triskelight spreads over a region which could be billion of light years in extension. Thus, the darkness, from where the galaxies started their journey, become their resting place, before the cycle of life and death repeats again for the next generation. The third lecture, called The Universal Fractal Wheel, deals with the development of the universal wheel, from its birth as a seed to the final stage, when it ends up in occupying the entire galactic nucleus as a three-dimensional structure. In fact, it becomes a round torus with a tiny central hole inside. The star-looking objects around the inner ring of the Horologium supercluster are in fact nuclei of massive galaxies, which have reached their end phase of life. The wheel acts as the mechanism of ejections of gases from the center and accretion towards the center. It acts like a loom throwing gases out and then pulling them back towards the center again. In this lecture we discuss how this weaving mechanism evolves, while the structures pass through different stages of life cycle. This process of creation and evolution is supported by dark structures, which supply the building materials. In fact, the foundation of the wheel lies in the background dark realm, from where much larger dark structures guide the development of the luminous universe. In the lecture, Universe Seen at Home, we look into our own home galaxy and discuss the features of creation and execution we have mentioned in the earlier lectures. Our main focus here is the fractal spiral, which resides at the center of the galaxy, as well as the ejections and accretion, which take place at the center without involving any black hole. From the standpoint of the gravitational theory, it is inevitable that a supermassive black hole should exist at the galactic center. We shall see what exists there instead of the black hole. The strong X-ray emissions from the galactic center has been used as arguments behind the presence of the supermassive black hole. We shall see how very massive stars are born from the process of ejections from the center, which contribute to the X-ray emissions one observes. The galactic center also acts as a laboratory for star cluster formation involving the process of ejection. We shall also encounter dramatic scenes of ejection of molecular gases from the center. We shall investigate how a microtriskelion forms inside a mini-triskelion, which, in turn, is embedded inside the universal wheel, from where arms made of stars, dusts and gases are hurled into space. We then will end this chapter with a discussion of dark galaxies, which move around the neighborhood of the local group of galaxies, to which our galaxy belongs. In the last lecture, Cosmic Incantation, we shall go through the magic formula of creation of cosmic bodies, starting from stars to the super-supercluster and beyond. It will involve interactions with the dark matter, the weaving by the universal wheel with a fractal triple spiral at its heart, and evolutions of a fractal knot, as the foundations of the ejection and accretion. It will be amazing to see how universe unifies all as one entangled body, where the largest structure images itself in its parts in smaller and smaller scales. The so-called chaos appears to be an expression of a cosmic order, and one feels awed and enthralled by noticing the simplicity which lies behind creation. However, the template which the universe uses to weave the structures, which I have called the cosmic design, is the most complex object. It is the wand of destiny, which no creation can ever evade, and no human will ever be able to comprehend. It is so incomprehensible, because it is a fractal involving complex entanglement, embedded inside another complex entanglement, inside another complex entanglement, and so on. We end the 5 lectures by recognizing a realm of the universe, which is beyond all knowing and understanding of the human mind.